Welcome back to Next Gen Investing. It's time to talk a big winner of the session here, which is Arteris, ticker symbol AIP, surging over 40%. Joining us now is George Tsilis, senior markets correspondent for the network. So George, I mean, hugely, I can imagine this is on its deal with AMD. So that's definitely something. I do think it's interesting to, see the way that AMD is trying to, feels like, regain some lost, really, competition and dominance. So that's, good news for both of these companies, but clearly Arteris is today the major beneficiary of this news.
Yeah, it is a big deal for Arteris. I mean, if you consider their business and even the size of their business, it's still quite small, even from a market cap standpoint, around 350 million. Sales last year around 62 million. So we're dealing with major companies like AMD, which have billions of dollars in revenues, and essentially the company Arteris is essentially a system on a chip technology company. So they design semiconductor systems, both what are called network on a chip and system on a chip technologies. And they're essentially a backbone to help interconnect various technologies, including, GPU, rack servers, as well as cloud computing, data storage, and of course, network service providers. And so they're the backbone of this interconnected technology. And AMD looks like they have licensed their FlexGen technologies for network on a chip interconnect in their IP. And this is actually a very big deal for Arteris, which essentially is a small player that competes against very large companies in the same space, which include a few large names like Synopsys and Cadence Design. So this is actually a big deal for Arteris. And I think overall, it gives you some perhaps insights into AMD's earnings call coming up in a little bit, in terms of their progress going forward with their MI300 and MI400 chipsets, which are trying to compete aggressively in the inference space alongside Nvidia's GPUs.
George, I'm glad you brought up the market cap. It's not even, it's like $500 million, maybe closer to 600 million at this point. But what's really sticking out to me is, float outstanding is only like 28 million. And you've had almost 20 million shares change hands today. I mean, if you were looking at this stock for the first time, like I'm sure many are, like that should jump off the screen to you, just the sheer volume. Like the move aside, something happened. Like you should just see that. That should be a trigger that goes off, that like something fundamentally has changed, because the average volume over the last month is like 500,000 shares, and it's almost 20 million today.
Yeah, that's important, especially when you're dealing with small companies. Obviously, the market cap has increased significantly since the close of yesterday, up right now around 40%. But nonetheless, you have to consider the size of this company relative to even mega cap companies out there that are in the hundreds, if not trillions of dollars. The float also is very meaningful with the move we're seeing today, because it typically is a small float. Volume is obviously pushing the stock to the upside. I think there's a couple of things that are important here on this name. One is that the sales and earnings growth are expected to continue in the 30+% range, at least in sales. This deal with AMD may change that trajectory. That'll be telling, because the company also is going to be reporting earnings this afternoon. AIP is. So that's also important in terms of maybe seeing this move follow through, or potentially seeing a secondary dilution effect. Not necessarily a bad thing, but that's certainly something to be expected. The other thing I'll mention here is that if you look at the earnings profile of the business, this year they're expected to lose 29 cents based on current consensus estimates. Next year, 2026, a penny loss. So the company is getting closer to break even. And it's been my experience in the past that some of the first and early moves that you see in stocks are when they get closer to break even, about 4 to 6 quarters away. So I'm just providing this information. Everyone can make their own investment decisions. And lastly, if you look at the 5-year chart, since the company did IPO in late 2021, it's gone through a 3-year basing pattern, and it's breaking above that basing pattern. So I think today's earnings will be telling, even if there's no follow through and potential pullback to fill that gap that it's created today. That might be a secondary buying opportunity for those who are looking to enter this position or enter this stock based upon a better than expected, or even an earnings profile that it's improving.
Yeah, and I think that today, of course, will provide that critical test. It makes me a little bit nervous when we see such big moves even ahead of earnings. Yeah. And with these smaller companies, to your point, we can oftentimes see the be basically the reversal of the exact move today, I mean, to the downside, but obviously we could see further upside. We'll have to see how the results do fare after a meteoric day. Appreciate it, though, George Tsilis, for all of the help today.